What's up, guys? Welcome back. So pretty much as you guys seen in the last video, we finally got the fuel cell locked into its location, and it's 100% done as far as the fuel cell. We fabricated a new bracket. We made do with what I had for welding as far as the cups, and honestly it came out pretty good. In my opinion, it's not perfect, but it will do its job, and that's all I can really hope for, is just do its job. Aside from that, I took a little bit of time off of working on the car, and honestly I just started cleaning up my garage. I made a lot more room on this side along with a lot more room on that side, and threw away a lot of crap that I didn't even need. Parts that didn't even function, that are worth money. Some of them are worth money that did work. I just decided to go ahead and throw it away just because there's the amount of flakes that there is. I didn't want to deal with it, and I felt like the trash was a better position to throw it in. So that's exactly what I did. But aside from that, what I ended up doing was also going to Harbor Freight, and I ended up picking up a new jack, which is the high lift one, and also a set of 6-ton jack stands, so that we can actually lift up the car and actually have plenty of room to be able to work underneath the car. The car looks a lot cleaner because I actually cleaned it up over the weekend also, just because I hate having a dirty car, no matter even if it's not even finished yet. But at least we got all that done, and the goal for me in this video is actually to start working on the charge harness and also finish up the fuel lines and get everything routed to the back end of the fuel cell. We finally got the fuel pump in, which is what we're running, is actually the 525 Hellcat fuel pump from Walbro. So we have that here along with all of the fuel lines here. So we still got to fabricate everything, pretty much get all the lengths right and see what we can utilize. Aside from that, I do have two pre-made lines that I got from G&J or J&G Aircraft here in Ontario. These are the ones that were made previously. I'm gonna go ahead and see if we can use these after pulling them out over the weekend. Hopefully they can still be usable to me, and that way we don't have to fabricate the ones for as far as the engine bay. Main reason why is because the ones that are pre-made are actually more of a shiny finish and more of a hose finish compared to the nylon finish that you get on the PTFE lines. Another set of these. So let's go ahead and get started on the fuel lines. What I want to do now is try to mock these up. I haven't mocked them up yet since I pulled them out yesterday, so I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to use these. One of these might be long, just because of the fact that where I have the fuel pressure regulator at now is actually here on the shock tower, with this bracket actually covering up the damage that is behind it from the paint being twisted. So the bracket used to be here, but now we put it over here. So I'm pretty sure this line, the return line that goes into the regulator, is gonna be a little bit long, but we're gonna go ahead and deal with it. I do wanna use those because these actually have like that smooth finish compared to the nylon finish that these other hoses have. So this is the nylon fitting here, so hopefully all this works out. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to work. Alrighty guys, so as you guys can see, the lines pretty much fit okay. It's a little long on this one as for the return, but it'll make do. I'm just gonna go ahead and order those clamps, the -6 clamps, so that way we can hook it together here, and that way it'll hold tension instead of flopping around. I just wish it had a 45 so that I can snake it underneath, and I wish this one actually had a 45 too, that we can snake it underneath and it wouldn't be in the way. But it is what it is. We're gonna make do with it, and we'll just deal with it. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do now is actually start making the return line and the feed line from there. That's pretty much a straight feed going into the filter, so that one we can snake it underneath and route it back to the trunk. And then this one, it has to require a 45 going all the way to the back. So I have two lines. One is an extra line that I have, and I'm actually going to use that one for the return to go underneath the fuel regulator. So that's the one we're going to be putting the 45 degree on. Alright guys, so when it comes down to the PTFE lines for the E85, this kit, I've never used it before. This is one off of Amazon. It has this washer, so I'm pretty sure that goes locked in to this piece here. But after, you pretty much, if you were to cut it, usually it's all frayed out. So what you got to do is, before you do all that, you put the sleeve over it, so that way this will be able to lock into here when the time comes after you finish your whole setup. So what I like to do after I get this on is I like to cut the outside sleeving. just because we're not going to need it. You need to peel it back anyways. So be very careful you don't cut the line, because that's where the issues start to happen at. So I also have the inline wrenches. I don't like to scratch mine, so I use these a lot when I do make them, just because they come in so handy and they're just really good. They're really worth having, in my opinion. So as you guys can see, first line is done. This is a 45. It does swivel, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is actually put a 90 on this end, because the way the tank is going to be. So I already know the way it's going to be. It's going to be a 90 on here, so this will run whether we have slack or not. I'll go ahead and pretty much roll it around inside of the trunk, and then we'll tuck it underneath the wood after we make that wood piece. So I think that should be pretty much golden. So we're just going to go ahead and cut it off here. It already has a piece over here, so if anything, then we can just go ahead and just swap this out, which we'll probably end up doing right now actually. Alrighty guys, so it's the next morning. Unfortunately yesterday I had some huge drama that happened and had to go take care of a lot of stuff, which took up my day, and it was just to the point where I didn't even come back to be able to work on the car. So as you guys seen, we made one line. Today what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to head to Home Depot real quick. I got to pick up some things so that we can finish up the fuel setup and then pretty much get everything clamped up to the bottom of the car. So hopefully all that can get done today. That is the plan, and that way we can at least start on the charge harness also. So let me go ahead and run to Home Depot real quick, pick up what I need, and we'll see you guys in a little bit. Alrighty guys, so we're back home, and to my surprise, we actually got a package at the front doorstep, and turns out it's actually my radiator. I know I'm gonna hear a lot of shit where, you know what, we put one other half-size radiator and we did this and we did that. Honestly, I decided just to go ahead and switch it up again because it just didn't make sense to me. The other radio that we were running, the half-size one, actually, by the time I put the fan and the shroud on, it was hitting my clutch line, the one that we bent up, and I just didn't want to lose that. I didn't want to make a steel braided line one, just because this is the way I wanted it to kind of flow with everything else. So we went with the Sirocco radiator. I'm going to go ahead and fabricate the shroud. I do have the material back there, and I do have the fan over there. But we did go to Harbor Freight and Home Depot. And let me go and tell you guys, these things are mad expensive at Home Depot. As you guys seen in that clip, 43 bucks, 73 bucks for the bigger one. Harbor Freight had it for like 16 bucks. I ended up picking this up from Home Depot for 5 bucks. These were like 3 bucks. This was 4 bucks. Picked up some clamps, also some acetone, and pretty much now we can pretty much hopefully finish up the fuel setup today. I do want to try to do the charge harness also. I'm waiting for the wires to show up, so that way that can be fully installed and we can get all of that done. As I already have the power blocks, I already have the battery, I already have the battery tray. All that is there. So now we're gonna go ahead and continue, guys, making the fuel lines and getting busy on it. So pretty much I'm gonna go ahead and shut up and just get back to work. Alrighty guys, so as you guys can see, we put some clamps on that I got from Home Depot. They're little plastic ones. They're 1/2 inch, 13 millimeters, and it actually hugs the line very well. I didn't put a lot of them yet just because of the fact that I have to be able to snake the other line in the back or on the bottom of it. So we put the other clamp, and that way to maintain, I can sneak a self-tapper also here. And then I can put another one here, and then from there we can add a little bit more and actually secure it. But not too shabby, I must say. Everything is routed the way I wanted it. You see the line going there, and then it goes into those 2 holes over there. I took off the grommets. I thought I had a little bit more room to flex, but we're gonna go ahead and make the other one. And unfortunately, we are gonna have to pretty much shorten up the line because the line is pretty big. So this is how much length we have left over. So I do have plenty of fittings, so that's what we're gonna go ahead and do. We're just gonna cut it here and then extend the fitting, put a fitting here, and then we can get that onto the return, because that is the return line. So that actually comes to this one here, and then the feed is here, so that way we'll snake it this way around the side, and that way we can get that one routed to the front to the filter itself. And then from there, once we get all that done into its location, we're gonna have to pull this apart again so we can actually install the Hellcat fuel pump. So I'm just waiting on the harness to arrive from Versatile Wiring. So once that arrives, then that can easily be a plug and play after over here. But not too shabby the way everything's turning out. So let's go ahead and make the second line, and then we'll go ahead and get everything buttoned up the same way, and I'll show you guys after.
What we do here is go back.
Alrighty guys, so pretty much as you guys seen, we ended up making the brand new lines, and honestly it came out a lot better than what I was expecting. I'm not a professional at this, and it's just good to be able to know what I'm doing now, and everything pretty much went flawlessly. These -6, since they are the PTFE lines, you do have to spread open the loom, put that other fitting over the plastic fitting, so that way it'll actually crush onto it and lock it in. So we do have everything ran. The way we actually ran it was the feed is actually coming to the filter down there, and then from the filter it actually comes underneath the charge pipe and it goes to the fuel rail. From there it'll disperse and then return all the way back to the fuel regulator, which is here, and then from here it goes down to the bottom and goes back to the tank, which is back there, of course. But everything is fully secure, everything is mounted, and you guys can see everything is done. So now we also got a package in from Amazon, which is what I was waiting for, because we still need to create the charge harness. So I figured, let me go ahead and clean up the garage again real quick, get rid of, put things I am not going to use anymore since we're done with the fuel system, and that way we can start concentrating on removing the bumper and the fender, and we can start on the charge harness itself. Alright guys, so as you guys seen, we got the 4-gauge wiring that we're going to be using for the charge harness. This one's actually pretty thick. The one that I had previously ordered, I actually ordered a 5-foot roll before a 4-gauge, and it's a lot thinner than this. It kind of looked like it was the OEM spec one. I only actually ordered 5 feet of it, of the last one, and it just wasn't going to be enough to get everything ran into the engine bay. So I figured I'd just order it again, send the other one back, and now we have a 10-foot roll in case we ever need to relocate the battery somewhere else, but I don't think we're going to need to do that. We also have all of the terminals here. We also have the terminal for the battery post. We also have a 100-amp breaker that we're going to be utilizing and putting in the engine bay. We have the tools to crimp everything, the heat sleeve. One thing I need to figure out is see if anybody has any fender wells inside of it, just so that we can stop any water from trying to get into it, and that way we don't have any of that issue. I don't think we should have issue because this is waterproof, but it's just to be on the safe side and try to do any preventative maintenance to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on it. I'm not really gonna go ahead and talk a lot anymore. I'm gonna try to put on a time lapse, get this done and over with, so that way we can try to see if we can get power to the car. And that's what my goal is, to try to get some power to the car before we end the video. And I'll go ahead and update you guys on what I did after, and that way you guys can see. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get to it. So the way I routed things, guys, was different than what you guys are probably used to, because the original way to run things is actually run both plugs here, both outlets. One is to the starter and one is to the alternator. So I did not utilize the alternator plug, the port of it, or the port. I did not utilize that one. I just simply used the starter one. It routes through the fender well, and then from there it goes to a 100 amp breaker back there. I still got to pretty much mount that to the frame. From there it bridges out to the power here, the power supply, and then from here it actually bridges out from the side, comes down, and then it loops in to the alternator. From the alternator it just basically bridges out to the starter, and then basically your ground just grounds to the frame of the car. And honestly, everything turned on fine and there was no issues. Actually, let me go ahead and take that back. There was one issue. After we gave power to the car and I got inside the car, I did try to like mess with the gauges a little bit and everything else. I did notice some smoke coming out from the dashboard section. So I immediately cut power. I was trying to trace it and I could not figure out where it's coming from. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do later on off camera is I'm gonna go ahead and take off the dash again and make sure that there is nothing really happening down there, that there's nothing not grounding out. There's no exposed wires, and just pretty much make sure everything is complete and there's nothing exposed. First, let's go ahead and pretty much give it full power. From there, we'll go ahead and bridge back out and head over to inside of the car. So here you guys will see we got power to the car. So there's power in the car. I already checked pretty much the plugs in the inside over here. I don't see nothing exposing any wires or anything like that, but again, just to be on the safe side, I'm gonna go ahead and pull off the dash and make sure that we're golden, because again, I do not want this car catching on fire on me later on down the road or in the future. I want to try to prevent all that. So I'd rather take that measure off camera, make sure everything is golden, and then we can go ahead and proceed with the next step of the car. As you guys already know, we got my brother's car coming, and so I'm not trying to rush things, but I want to continue making progress and at least try to get power to everything and make sure we can get a first startup. I'm still gonna have to get a startup download from Brandon. We have shit up and see, hey, if we can just continue moving forward, guys, because honestly, I'm very stoked how the car is turning out, and I really want to see this car on the street. But pretty much, guys, we're gonna wrap it up here. If you guys enjoy the content, if you guys enjoy this video of finally getting the fuel system done, getting the charge harness somewhat done, please like, subscribe, and let me know what you guys think, because honestly, your guys' support truly does mean a lot. So with that being said, guys, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Till next time.